Tom Brady is not going to change what Tom Brady does just because he's playing the Broncos.
We just got to go out there and be great.
They're exceptional in a lot of ways. They've been that way for a long time.
Von Miller. And Denver's got a touchdown with the sack of Tom Brady. He leaped over the center. Are you kidding me? Touchdown! The Patriots have the football. And into the end zone he goes. But he hit, fumbles the ball. Went down the sideline with the convoy. Touchdown! This place is pursuit. Let's go!
We got a good one this weekend between the Broncos and the Pats. The Patriots have been a bit thin at wide receiver this season, carrying just 4 true wideouts, 1 fewer than the norm. That led to yesterday's claiming of Michael Floyd, who was waived by Arizona following his DUI arrest earlier this week. Now, Floyd was the Cardinals' 2012 first-round draft choice. New England now inherits the remainder of his contract, about $1.2 million, which expires after the 2016 season. Stephen A., yesterday, Floyd was the subject of your final take. Do you think this is a bad look for New England?
I don't think it's a bad look for New England. I think that New England has a reputation for taking chances. It's not like Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, more importantly, is going to tolerate any kind of transgressions or anything that's going to bring a black mark to the franchise. And so when you look at it from that perspective, Michael Floyd, you're playing with house money if you're the New England Patriots, because after just getting cut from the Arizona Cardinals, unceremoniously, I might add, with reports hinting towards and indicating that the problem may actually go deeper than a particular DUI that had him arrested on Monday, along with not obeying a police officer. If there's residue there, if there's a longer list of things to be concerned about, then the likelihood is that it's going to reveal itself and he's going to be out of this league. But if it's been grossly exaggerated, or more importantly, he's able to address and ultimately eradicate the things that people are concerned about, then the New England Patriots have a quality receiver who's a big target for Tom Brady. And when you consider the fact that Rob Gronkowski is out, but you still have Martellus Bennett, you still have Edelman, you still have Hogan and the crew, and you can add another big target receiver to the mix that's capable of playing slot for you, that's capable of being another big target along with Bennett. It puts the New England Patriots in prime position to exploit the opportunity that was available to them and to maximize it to the nth degree. I don't think you have anything to lose here. It's low risk, high reward. I see no way that this works against the Patriots.
Well, it's a bad look for the Patriots from a kind of broader moral position. Look, Arizona was lauded by us and others for being true to their kind of principles, or to just good principles, when they had a zero tolerance policy for drunk driving, which is, by the way, look, I'm fairly sympathetic to the idea that when your judgment is impaired, you make bad decisions. So I understand sometimes people find themselves in those situations, but I am not sympathetic to driving drunk, because look, I have a family. I'm on the road with my 3 daughters. I have zero tolerance for that stuff, and I'm appreciative of an organization that says, no, we're not going to let you endanger, forget about yourself, others on the road, including children in their cars. So if you do that, goodbye. The Patriots pick up a receiver. Now, what do we think whenever the Patriots make a move? Naturally, since they are the best franchise by far, year in and year out, they're better than everybody else. We think, boy, that guy must be good, right? That's really what it's commentary on. When the Patriots pick up a player, we go, that's actually a good player. Hard to know in football all the time who is good and who is not good, who is benefiting from a system and who can actually ball. When the Patriots pick someone up, you go, well, at the very least, they see a way they can use that guy. He must have some ability that's actually good, not just that looked good. So it looks good for Floyd. It looks good for the Patriots in terms of improving their lot. And it makes us cynical in a sense, because we look and go, aha, see, Arizona thinks it's about anything other than football, and the Patriots just showed them, suckers, right? They actually got a good player. But from a bit, if you're a Patriots fan, you might like that. But for everybody else, hey, Arizona was trying to enforce a code of conduct that we should be supporting, and they were undermined by the Patriots because the guy can play. Now, I know the response to that is, and maybe I shouldn't anticipate it, But the response to that generally in these situations is, this is the reality. If you can play, someone's going to pay you to play.
Well,
and if you give up on that player, someone else is just going to scoop him up. Fine. But that's only if a team like the Patriots does scoop him up.
Well, you're absolutely right. You shouldn't anticipate the response, nor should you care. You feel the way you feel. The hell with what anybody thinks. That's point number one. Point number two, the ethics of the Arizona Cardinals are entirely different than the ethics of the New England Patriots. But let's also analyze why. Yes, Bruce Arians and Michael Bidwell and those boys, I'm saying, let me explain why. Yes, Bruce Arians and Michael Bidwell may have a different code of ethics, but maybe, just maybe, it's because they're trying to install a standard that the New England Patriots already have. You know, you might come to the New England Patriots with problems, but when are you causing problems once you arrive in New England and are allowed to stay? That's the difference. And so it's one thing if New England took you on board and then let you go out there and drink and drive, and then let you go out there and act up, and then let you go out there and be lawless and engage in criminal activity or, unlawful activity or whatever the case may be, and kept you on the roster. No, New England doesn't do that. What they say is that whatever problems you had there, we're going to give you a semi-clean slate. Semi from the perspective that you will not be judged by what you did once you arrive here, so long as you don't repeat it.
And that's
but the
fine.
second you repeat it, you're going to be treated like a repeat offender, and we're going to get you up out of here.
And that's
what
fine.
they do. I have no
that's
problem
fine
with it.
If it happens at some point later than before the ink is dry on the release. It's one thing if he didn't play this season or he played for someone else or whatever, but the idea that, hey, as long as you don't do it here, you're okay, as though they're going to ignore the behavior that actually occurred just now, is to say that it is an extremely cynical position. Now, if I was a Patriots fan, by the way, I would think, suckers, I got a good player. But for everybody else, all the Patriots did was undermine a team that was enforcing a code of conduct that we should be supporting.
Max Kellerman, this happened Monday. We heard the police report. We haven't heard from Michael Floyd's lawyer. The case hasn't been decided.
Fair point.
It's still pending and ongoing. We don't know what's going to happen. What we do know is that he's no longer on the Arizona Cardinals. He's free, so we might as well get him, and we'll deal with whatever they decide to bring, forth.
So is it a good or a bad look? From a football point of view, it's actually a better look for Michael Floyd than anybody else because the Patriots think he's good, which means he's good. I mean, that's the best look. But from a kind of ethical point of view, not a great look for the Patriots.
I think we knew that.
Guys,
of course it's good on him. He was
let's get into the game. Let's get into the game. The Patriots are playing in Mile High. We know Tom Brady struggles there. He lost his last 3 on the road. Stephen A., who do you think wins?
Well, I'm rolling with the Patriots in this one. I just don't have a lot of faith in Denver right now. Their running game isn't the same since C.J. Anderson went down. Trevor Siemian has come down to earth. He's not the heir apparent like everybody thought he was, even though he's decent. He's not garbage, okay? And then from a defensive standpoint, their secondary is elite, but their defense against the run, along with their ability to defend tight ends, are question marks. So when I think about Blunt with Dion Lewis out of the backfield, when I think about Martellus Bennett there, even though Gronk is not, when I think about the pickup of Floyd, even if he doesn't play, you still got Hogan and Edelman up in there. And we're talking about Tom Brady. I just think it's one of those situations where it could be tight fought or what have you, but I see the New England Patriots figuring out a way to win this game. I'm going to pick them to win this game somewhere along the lines of 24-16, 24-17.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to do it, but co-sign on that. New England's going to run it right at Denver with LeGarrette Blount, and that's going to set up play action for Brady, and that'll be all she wrote.
All right, New England's favored by 3, and that one will be interesting to see if they get Michael Floyd in there. Coming up a little later in the show, it'll be Stephen A.'s final take, Mr. Smith, or I should say Dr. Smith. What will you be talking about today?
Well, obviously, the story of the day is Craig Sager. It's a devastating loss for all of us, but there is something for all of us to take from him departing from us, and it's something that I'm going to bring up. I think it's very important, and I think it's something that's important to say. So that's exactly what I will do at the end of the show.
Can't wait for that. How will you remember Craig?
I can't really put it much better than Charles Barkley and Steve Kerr put it. Obviously, they worked with Craig Sager for years. They know him better than me, better than a lot of people. But those of us who have covered the NBA for many years, we know how synonymous he is with the NBA in the world of sports, and we know what a wonderful human being he was. He was always very gentle. He was always very kind. Charles Barkley put it best when he talked about how he was full of life, and he's never met anybody that loved life and wanted to live more than Craig Sager. And so you hear about his passing. It was, it's just devastating to all of us who covered the NBA and who have been around him. When ESPN worked the deal out with Turner to allow Craig Sager to cover his first NBA Finals, I remember LeBron James asking, how in God's name, after all of these years, 20 plus years, have you never covered the NBA Finals until now? It just didn't seem right. It just seemed so perfect when he was there for Game 6 for Cleveland and the Golden State, because it clearly was where he belonged. And I watched him work the arena, just walking around, even beforehand, people wanting to take pictures with him, clamoring for him, thanking him for the strength that he instilled in so many people. To see the standing ovation that he received during the game was incredibly touching. And then when Steve Kerr spoke last night, prior to the Knicks game, the Warriors game against the Knicks, Steve Kerr, who, he's a very good man, and we all know that about him, he actually put a smile on my face, because by him saying and reminding us all how Craig Sager would have wanted us to conduct ourselves, for it to be a celebration to some degree, it made me smile, because I thought about the last time I had spoken to Craig Sager. Craig Sager walked up to me, and we all know, Max and Molly, that he's very well known for the colorful outfits that he wears. And he walked up to me, and like Kobe Bryant said on Mike and Mike earlier today, everyone always looked forward to whatever outfit we were going to see Craig Sager in, because clearly he owned it. He could pull it off. Most of us couldn't. Most of us wouldn't even think about trying. But when it came to him, he would pull it off every time, and he didn't care. This is what he loved. That's how he loved to look. God bless him. And so he came up to me, and he said to me, "Steven, you look great." And I looked around. I was like, what's wrong with my outfit? Why is he saying that? I mean, do I have on something wild or whatever the case may be? And that's what I thought about last night. It just put a smile on my face, because I remember how I was questioning the outfit that I had on, because he was telling me how good my outfit looked when he saw me at Quicken Loans Arena. And so I just think about it from that perspective. I'm sad for his lovely wife, Stacy, his 5 kids, the TNT family. I know all of those folks, and he was a special man, and he meant a great, great deal to the NBA community, and we're all going to miss him. It's a devastating loss for everybody associated with the NBA, with the world of sports, and for folks out there battling cancer. My words to them, including people like my own mom, is just keep the fight up, keep going, keep pushing. Because Craig Sager certainly did that to the best of his ability. And as sad as it is to see him gone, we owe him an incredible debt of gratitude for the life that he lived and what he was willing to put on display and share with us all. We're all better because of it.
Yeah, I think that Craig Sager's life shows that if you treat people with kindness and you have a sense of humor about yourself and use obstacles and hardships in your own life as a source of inspiration to uplift others, you will be loved. And I think what's most telling about the way Craig Sager lived his life, and I did not know him personally, we crossed paths a couple times, but didn't know him personally, had no personal relationship. And as a basketball fan and as a person who lives in this culture, I was very sad, of course, like everyone else, when I heard he'd passed, and was upset even when the news first became public that he was struggling with his illness. I think the greatest tribute is the people who knew him best. The closer they were to him, the more upset they were, the more they loved him. That's not the case with everyone. But in this building, I'm in LA now, where I did Sports Nation for 3 years before joining this show, Stephen A. And in this building, everyone was obviously sad and depressed about it. But the people who knew him were weeping. The way Charles Barkley was crying on television. Michelle Beadle and Rachel Nichols were weeping yesterday. And when we discussed how we were going to handle it, because I did Sports Nation for old time's sake while I was here yesterday, I appeared on the show throughout the show, and we had all these things planned, and then the news came out 5 or 10 minutes before we went to air, whatever it was. And the question was, how do we handle something like this? And the decision, at first, maybe we just make the whole thing a tribute to Craig Sager. And the decision ultimately was, what would he do? And how would he want this handled? Probably embarrassed by the attention. But if you look at how he lived his life, he went to work, didn't ask anyone to feel sorry for him, and did his job basically up until the very end without asking for special treatment or anything like that. And so it was decided the best way to honor him and his legacy is to carry on and do the show. So we did a tribute segment off the top, as we are doing here, and discussed it because you can't ignore it, obviously. And then carried on and did the show as he did, as he carried on. I just think, as I said, the greatest tribute to him is you'll notice in the media reaction, people watching at home, the people who knew him best are the ones who will be weeping today.
Well, the thing that resonates with me as well is the great Ernie Johnson, who's a cancer survivor, who would go to see him to fire him up and inspire him. And it turns out that it was the other way around. That's what Craig Sager did for him and so many others. And you think about the battles that people are fighting every single day in an effort to conquer cancer. And you think about the Jimmy V Foundation and what ESPN has been closely associated with and synonymous with for decades. And you think about all of those folks out there in such desperate need, not just of treatment, not just for a cure, but also for inspiration along the journey, along the battles. And then you think about a guy like Craig Sager, who would go to work and work a game at night and then turn around and fly to Houston the next day, the next morning, to receive his chemo, and then depart from there and go right back on the road. And then you sit there and you think about the times that you said to yourself, I'm tired, I'm not feeling well, I can't go, but there's really nothing wrong with you. You knew what was wrong with him, and somehow, some way, he showed up to work every chance he got. And it just serves as the greatest inspiration to all of us about what we can be made of if our heart and our mind is truly committed to something that we love so dearly. And I just think that that's an important message to reap from it all. But again, my heart goes out to his family, his loved ones, the TNT family, thanking Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Shaq and the crew, especially to Steve Kerr and that tremendous tribute to Greg Popovich, who spoke very sincerely about him. The man was loved in a great way by anybody associated with the NBA community, and the players, I think, are doing an incredible job of expressing their love and affection to him and their gratitude for all that he means and he meant to the game of basketball.
And I also want to add, Stephen A., our heart also goes out to anybody battling cancer. Our prayers are with them, including your mother as well.
Thank you.
Craig Sager, gone way too soon at the age of 65. He will be missed, but not forgotten.